Welcome to Bricklink. I'm Joey, and today we're going to talk about lighting. So, you've probably seen in a previous video some of these light posts that I have here. They're all pre-wired, they're all pre-lit. And when I say pre, I did the lighting and I did the hole drilling for the light pole. Okay, so I didn't do a video of that. I know I didn't do a video of that, but there is a video previous to this that I started talking about lighting. Anyway, I'm going to do a whole playlist about all this lighting. So you should see a card up here, and I'll put a link in the description so that you can kind of follow along. Now, the other thing that I did is there's going to be a video coming up pretty quick about this corner garage, and I got it lit up. That wasn't stuck down. So there'll be a picture or video of it coming up. And I thought there was a video about the Palace Cinema where it's all lit up. I can't find it. There's a little bit of it in the video about the corner garage, where I kind of show the Palace Cinema. If you guys remember there was a video about the Palace Cinema, send me a link, because I can't find it, and it's not in my list, and it's not in any of my on any of my hard drives where my footage is stored. So I feel like I did a video on it. And then there's also lighting on the train layout itself. Lights here, and we had some lights at the beginning and end of the train layout, or of this bridge. I don't know where that's at either. Again, if you remember, put a link in the comments, and I'll try to get those into the playlist. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what am I using for a power source and how am I doing this. So we're going to go under the layout, and under that. I don't know how many videos that's been in now. That was me banging my head on the bottom of the layout. So took one for the team. Yay. Okay, here we are under the layout. This is my power supply. So this is a switching power supply that I don't know what. Yeah, 5 volts, 5 amps. And that's what we have coming out here on these red and black wires. And then this is 110, so house voltage. And then the 5 volts carries down into this block, and then up and along and around and down. Now, this is not a how-to video. I'm not going to tell you how to burn your house down with electricity. I'm just discussing some of the stuff that I've done here. This stuff's coming from, I think that power supply probably came from Amazon, to be honest. A lot of these other electronics and stuff there, you'd get this stuff from Radio Shack. Anybody remember Radio Shack? But yeah, this wire it's heavier than it needs to be I'm sitting on a Lego, please. Sorry. And I'm using these blocks. And of course, none of this stuff has been mounted completely yet. I mean, some of it has. And these little wire keepers. It seems like a lot of wires. There's also a control box. Let's see that does the crossing gates up here. So there's that. Lights, if you look, you can see the wires going up to the lights over the tracks. So, yeah, I know this is very much not Lego, but all of this to say that this is, I'm building a trunk line, basically, if you will. Like I'm not an electrician, right? To get power to all the sections. All right, so there's the corner garage. So this is where we're at. We're down inside the corner garage. These boxes, all these little Dacta boxes, they're full of Lego sets. Just like I don't know. Can you guess what the Lego set that is? All right, so here's the power's coming in to this side of the block. You notice the resistor that's dropping down to about 3 volts versus 5. And one of these, let's see, this one is coming off, yeah, this wire here is coming off the 3 volt, which is going to the corner garage. This wire back here, this one back here, is coming off full 5 volts, and it is going to the Palace Cinema. Now the reason the Palace Cinema has 5 volts and the corner garage has 3 volts is the Palace Cinema is using more of some of the brick stuff, lights, and it's going through. They have their own power reducing system, so they can take 5 volt in and then they reduce it to 3, depending on the type of batteries or what if you're using a USB. So USB outputs 5 volt, and I was going to do that with everything. I was going to have these USB connectors, USB A, and I was going to use those, and I was basically have every modular or every section have a USB plug. Yeah, I was looking to see. I was thinking one of these still had that on there. The problem with the USB plug was it's too big. It's a giant. Because what we're ending up doing, let's see if we can get this picture. See that little bitty plug? Yeah. Then these wires. See, that's all got to be attached to it. There's no. Let's put this back up here where it's not. There's no strain relief on this, so there's pulling. Right now, it's okay. I just had it out. So all that's soldered together, and then we put the rubber over it so it doesn't short out, and then that is the little tiny connector which goes through the little tiny hole up to the building. And then that gives us our power into each module, and I can unplug it if I need to pull the modular out, and either add more lights or move them around or whatever. Now the problem with that is I have to get very specific. I've done 2 modulars so far, and you would think that each modular you would run the cord cable out the same corner of the building into the same spot so that you could interchange the wires in the hole in the actual layout, right? In the wood, the hole. And the reality is, no, I did not. So, if I move these buildings around, I'll have to redrill holes, most likely. That thought process has now entered my mind, and it is now part of the new planning to try to make the holes in the same spot. My guess is it's never going to work out. Well, plus I don't move these around too often. These have been here for a while like this. Okay, so where does that leave us? That leaves us with, we have power running under and then over. So we have 5 amps capable of coming to these buildings. And each building is a fraction of an amp. 0.2, 0.3, depends how many LEDs you put in there. As to how many. So the 5 amps is way more than I'm ever going to need, I hope. If I need to get a bigger power supply, or if it turns out that I'm starting to pull multiple amps, because I think if I were to pull a couple amps, 2 or 3 amps on some of these, I don't know, these wires they're rated high enough, but at any rate, because it's 5 volts at 5 amps, the wire is plenty high enough. But if it becomes a problem, I can always get another one of these switching power supplies and then start down the other side of the layout, because I'm just trying to do this one section. Once I get this section, which would be the tree, and then all these modulars, I know we're taking it from the wrong direction. You can't really tell what they are. But once this whole little section is done, then we can start working on this section, which really is just these modulars here. We got room for one more here. That's the mock, and then this is again another. It goes around and around and around. So we have expansion room here for what, 2 more, and then this is a mock. So if we get 1, 2, 3, 4 years from now, we may have to pull that mock out if we put another modular there. And who knows what Lego's going to be doing in 4 years anyway, right? Somebody's probably out there asking, why didn't you use a 9-volt transformer regulator? Why didn't you use this power supply? Why didn't you use that power supply? I used Lego materials. And I thought about it, and it all runs around the amount of power you need versus the amount of voltage you need. So I'm settling on 5 volt, and then I have resistors that pull it down to 3. And I think that gives me the best options for whatever. Again, some of the older lighting kits, and I still have some of the older lighting kits, start at like a 5 volt or a 6 volt. And then they internally drop their stuff down to 3 or 1.5 volts even. Some of the LEDs are actually run on 1.5 volts, not 3. So all that being said, I settled on 5. Part of that was because I was going to use a USB system, because I could get USB power supplies and then just literally plug in USB ports, and I thought each module would have that. But the hole was too big. I was going to drill a hole for those USB. Could you imagine having to drill? I'd have to drill a big hole through the layout to pull those USB plugs out. I don't know. Plus, you have the expense of the USB plugs, which you can get them on Amazon cheap. To me, it was too much. I was going to have to solder the connections, and if I'm going to solder the connections, let's just use these little bitty connectors that are easy to, and they cost pennies on the dollars, where the USB, they cost, I don't know, I think I got them. I think you get them. It depended on how long the pigtail was, so dollars, pennies versus dollars. Okay, I know this video is chaotic. My whole YouTube channel is chaotic, but that's the plan. That's not that's the plan, and that's the start of how I'm getting power. I have my own switching power supply, my own 5 volt power supply. We're running trunk lines underneath, and then into these blocks. And then we will come off of those for each module. Each module will have its own little pigtail. And I just dropped that and pulled wire out. Each one will have its own. That should have been mounted. It should be screwed to the bottom of the layout, not hanging free like it is. I think it'll be okay. I think it just came unplugged. Each individual modular will have its own single power source, and then inside, and there's a lot of these little flickering and all kinds of cool stuff. Like in the Palace Cinema, we have the little flickering light that makes the movie look like it's a movie. And again, they all have different power ratings, but at 5 volts, it seems like it's easy enough to get from 5 volts to 3 volts and get us what we need. So, okay. All right. This has turned into an episode of The Ramble. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope there was something worth watching.
Thanks for sticking around this long. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. Maybe think about subscribing. That way you won't miss out on any new content. Also, we have our memberships. We call it the passenger list. A little behind the scenes view into the Brick Trains universe. We also have the A-Fool podcast. And if you're a fan of old Lego, then think about leveling up your memberships to our A-Fool supporters. Thank you for your support.